Hi, Lee Phillips. I want to talk to you about how to put your house in a trust. And I guess the first question is, do I put my house in a trust? And the answer is yes. We want to avoid probate when you die. Family doesn't want to go through probate. You don't want to have them go through probate. So we're going to avoid probate by putting the house in the trust. Now, there are a lot of attorneys that say, don't worry about putting the house in the trust. Put it in joint tenancy or put it in tenancy by the entirety so that when one of you dies, the other one owns it. That works until you both die. Then the family's back to probating the house. So never bring a kid in, by the way, and put a kid's name on the deed to the house. No, under no circumstances. But kids are like yogurt. You never know when they're going to go bad. But you want to put the house in the trust. It isn't going to protect the house. It isn't going to affect the insurance. It isn't going to affect the property taxes. Now, you may have to, in a state like California, file with the property tax boys and say, hey, we just put our house in a trust. You can't raise the property taxes on us. There's another issue with it, and that is, if I put the house in the trust, do I lose my homestead? Well, Florida, Texas have big homesteads. You like those. And Florida says it's okay if it's in a trust as long as you have the right during your lifetime to live in the trust and stuff. Most of the trusts meet that criteria. If you're in Florida, there's a paragraph that you add to your trust that satisfies the requirement for Florida Homestead Act. And so you can do that sort of thing to make sure that the homestead continues on even after you put it into the trust. So how do you put a house into a trust, or how do I put my home into a trust? You're going to use a deed. That's the way we move real property. A quitclaim deed in this case is sufficient, because we're basically moving the house from my left front pocket over to my right front pocket. I still own it. It's still mine. It was mine. It's still mine. Any warranties that I have are still there. Anything that went with it, still there. So a quitclaim deed, which just says I give up my interest in the property and I move it over to the trust. That'll work. If you're moving a piece of property, your house, into an LLC or something, which you won't do. Don't do that. In fact, I've got a video on that, YouTube video. But use the quitclaim deed, move the house into the living revocable trust. Shouldn't affect taxes, shouldn't affect the homestead. You may have to do a few of these little things in some states, particularly California, Texas, and Florida on the Texas and Florida on the homestead, California on the property tax. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Nobody worries about it. Your attorney, your guy that says, don't worry about putting your house into a trust, I'm going to say doesn't know what he's doing. Your house needs to be owned by your trust. Now wait, I said that you didn't get any asset protection, didn't I? Can I get asset protection by putting property in a trust, a living revocable trust? The answer is no. But if I live in a non-community property state, a common law state, then I could, if the wife is the big time doctor, I can put the house in his trust, but I could put it in his name too, same difference. I separate ownership and I get some asset protection, some protection from the spouse who is the most likely to have a big liability. I put it in the other person's name. Okay, I can put it in their name. Same asset protection, but I want it in their trust because when I die, when this guy dies, my husband, wife dies, I don't want to have to probate the house I'm living in. So you want it in their trust. So you'll have a his trust and a her trust, and divide up assets that way. That gives you asset protection, not because it's in a trust, but because I've divided up assets. The trust just makes it so that when one of the spouses dies, the other one is in a probate situation. They can manage all of these assets very nicely. Now, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and love us. And by the way, if you don't have my ebook on how to use a trust, get it. It's a good book. It's free. I don't sell your information or any of that sort of garbage. So it's just down below in the description, the linky thingy there, and we'll send that out to you. So I appreciate all you guys listening to these. They're great sleep aids. It's worth a fortune. Just listen to one a night. It'll put you right to sleep. You'll sleep like a baby. Anyway, now Lee Phillips having fun on YouTube.